All right, we'll get started. Hi, Jess. Thank you so much for being on Creating a Disruption. I am Brian Hall, and I am here with Kara DePaul. Hi, Kara. How are you?
I'm great. I'm glad to be back from assignment.
And we're glad that you're back.
Thank you.
So before we get into the questions, I do want to congratulate you on being named the 2022-2023 Ohio Association of Two-Year Colleges Teacher of the Year.
Thank you.
Was that a surprise?
It was very much a surprise, yeah. I knew I was nominated, but I really assumed I was gonna get like last place if we were actually ranking everybody. I think, was it Stacey Souther? I can't remember, someone said, she's like, I wish I was able to take a picture because I was very surprised. Were you there? You were there, right?
I took a picture of you at the podium, but I didn't get the surprise.
So this was all like Academy Award type stuff, right? Everyone was in the audience and waiting to hear who would.
Yeah.
Oh, so you did not know ahead of time?
No, I really did not know. Yeah.
No, there was I think 30 of us from Tri-C there, and it was a very proud Tri-C moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Up there amidst there was 10 other faculty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thanks.
I didn't mention this beforehand, but I'm going to say it now. I also want to say I love the mental health talks, stuff that you have in the display case. For those listening and maybe never been on Metro campus, in the display case near Studio 101, there is let's talk about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lovely painting in the middle of it, and then there's quotes around it. Can you talk a little bit about that? I told her ahead of time that sometimes there's curveballs, and this is a huge one. Sorry.
This is a project I do with my psychopathology class, and we do it every semester where the students have to find a way to bust the myth of stigma myths about mental illness. And so I had a very ambitious group that decided to do this huge project on campus. They did set up a booth down in the food court, and they did cupcake sales to raise money for Active Minds. And one of my students is also an artist, and she painted that painting for the project. She said she just got very inspired. Yeah.
No, it's a beautiful painting.
I know. I want it. I'm gonna steal it from her. She's actually graduated now. She's in graduate school.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, the thing is, so that display case, I go by it and go, oh, maybe we can find something else to put in it. And every time I go, I was like, we can't. It's just so perfect. It's wonderful. It turned out so well. So congratulations to you and your students for doing such a wonderful job on that. And
were you also behind the chalkboard? Remember at Metro, there was that chalk wall that was full of mental health.
Yeah.
I think it was Let's Chalk About It, or
Yeah. And they filled the chalkboard right here outside Studio 101 as well. That was part of that group, and they amazed me. But all the groups do really amazing things. We've had raps on campus. We've had lots of online social media campaigns, like TikTok videos. It's been a really fun activity to do. Yeah.
And is that something that you built into that class? Going into that class, you have to get the students in a position to want to participate in something like that. Is that difficult to do, to get the students sort of in that mindset to say, you're really going to go out and be a little more active than maybe you think that you would be in?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, the nice thing about that psychopathology class is a lot of students take the class because they have some sort of interest themselves in the topic, not just because it's a career path or something like that. A lot of times it's because they are struggling with mental illness, or they know somebody who is and they want to learn more. And so it's a very emotional class to teach anyway. And so saying that we're going to theme our whole semester on mental illness stigma, not just learn about disorders, but talk about our misconceptions as a society, is, you can see they kind of light up. And then I say, we're doing a group project and you have to go out to the community, and then they all curl into a ball.
Right.
And wait a minute. But then I say, I need a little bit of trust. Let's push ourselves just a little bit. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, groups just end up the students are so invested in their groups and what they're doing because I give them a lot of leeway to pursue the topic they're passionate about and to do it in a way that they're comfortable with. You know, if you're not somebody who likes to be up on stage, don't do a rap on campus.
Right.
You can find the way that works for you. And it's created really powerful moments both outside the classroom and in the classroom. Yeah.
So we could say that's one way you disrupt your classroom, right?
That's my favorite way, I think,
Yeah,
is actually that project. It's what I have like a vested interest. I'm so passionate about the topic. Yeah.
What other ways have you disrupted your class by creating a new assignment or project, using new technology, trying a different approach? Why did you make this change? How did it go?
I've done so many different things. It's hard to pick and choose. That one for psychopathology is a big one. This semester, actually, this is just on my mind because I literally just came from this place right before coming here, and I'm doing the Undesign the Redline exhibit. I'm having my students write a paper connected to that. So we were actually all just over there an hour ago, getting a tour of the exhibit and created a new semester project and a paper topic that they have to write on connected to that. So that's been a lot of work these past couple of weeks, trying to imagine what that's going to be.
No, I can imagine. It's great that you're using that exhibit.
Yeah.
It's here because it is a really powerful one.
Is the Undesign the Redline is what you guys had at your Metro Campus Day, right? And then now the exhibit is traveling to all 4 campuses? Is that, okay.
Yeah.
So it's here now at Metro?
Until the 16th.
Okay, okay. And then do we know what campus it goes to next?
Ooh.
I didn't realize we have pop quizzes here, Karen.
I mean, I'm throwing some curveballs.
I started it, I get it. I don't know what campus it's going to.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, it is a really amazing project. This was like one of those things I was like, I just want to try something different. I'm getting kind of bored of the paper I have them write usually, and this was an opportunity, and I wasn't really unsure. I don't know how it's going to go, but when I brought it up in class earlier this week, and as soon as I started explaining what redlining is, all of their faces kind of lit up, and then we ended up on a half-hour detour.
As happens.
Yeah, and I feel like, well, we can't spoil it. Like, you have to go.
So you just went today?
We went today.
Okay, so what was their kind of initial reaction to
Gosh.
the exhibit?
A lot of outreach.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of very passionate responses.
Sure.
Just some of the stories we were hearing was just it's just a very powerful story, a lot that they weren't aware of. But I had told them, you know, like, your paper doesn't have to be about redlining per se. Like, this exhibit, if you go to the exhibit, it has so many topics. Like, there's stuff about mass incarceration and the civil rights movement and Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ issues. And so I said, like, just find something. You don't even have to mention redlining in your paper. Like, find the topic that you want. This is just the stepping stone. And so they kept coming to me after the tour, and they're like, well, what about this? I don't know. I was like, yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you can see they're just like, oh, okay, like, you really mean it. So fingers crossed it goes well.
Well, you know, students, when they find something that they're interested in, there's just that different energy that's behind it.
Yeah.
And that's always great to see. And I think it's one of the things faculty that we talk to, I mean, it comes up a lot, just you find that one assignment or experience that is different, it captures their attention, and you just get a different product.
Yeah.
Because they're just more invested in some way. So I'm glad you're able to use this.
Yeah. And it seems like it's like a awesome way to have like the students place themselves in that experience, right? Or have those like connections, whether it's their personal connections or of their city or of people that they know, right?
Yeah.
And so you give them that kind of like personal experience, just like we were talking about with your pathopsychology class, right? Of being able to connect like the content also to their lives or the lives of people around them.
Yeah, I had a couple of students who said they're like, I think I'm gonna interview my grandmother because she was alive during some of these things that were being talked about, and I want to talk to her about that. Like, could I do that as part of my paper? Absolutely, and like that was interesting. Some of them are going to be really diving into their own personal history. Yeah, that's great.
What is one of the best teaching and learning experiences for you?
I think this is possibly like the hardest question to answer because I don't know how to pick. For me, it's always about those small little moments of like connectedness and seeing students kind of light up, like even those magical moments you get in the classroom where like someone brings something up and then other students chime in and then you've taken a step back and they're all like discussing amongst themselves, like you realize you haven't spoken for 5 minutes. Like I don't think anything is better than those small moments. So it's like I feel like you're asking me to like pick a favorite child. It's really hard. But if I had to pick like one moment that really shifted things for me in the classroom, I really would have to kind of go back to the very beginning, because I started off, as so many of us do, adjunct teaching, and I had not gotten my PhD yet. I was down in Sinclair, and I had finally come around to the idea of like teaching is what I want to do, and I like teaching at a community college. And this class, I was really connected to them. We were just so close. And they were like the first class I kind of let in and told them stuff that was going on in my life, like that I was going to go defend my dissertation, and they were very excited for me. And when I got back from defending, I think I may have had to cancel class, and that was one of the reasons I revealed it, and they were so encouraging. But when I canceled class, I came back, and at the end of the semester, they had a present for me. They had all gone in together, and you know those like plaques you put, or like things you put on your desk that has like name and title or whatever?
Yeah.
They had done one that was Jessica McLaughlin, PhD.
Wow.
And it was just this moment of, it was a sense of like, I always kind of view teaching as like, I'm there to be a stepping stone for them. Like, I hope I'm someone memorable in their lives that has moved them on to something bigger and better. It was like the first time I had this sense of like, my students are that for me too. Like, they are these wonderful stepping stones that improve me and make me a better person. Like, that was so many years ago. I still can remember the faces of the students in this class because it was just like they've really changed my life. It was like this aha moment for me. Yeah.
I love those moments, like sometimes that you see your students, right, like outside in the community, and a few years go by, and hopefully they remember your name, hopefully you remember their name.
I know.
Yeah.
But then when you get to talk to them and you see that you were a stepping stone and you were an important piece of their puzzle and a part of their journey, and like it's just I don't know, I feel like that's like one of the feel good moments that you have after teaching, and you're out in our community and you're seeing people grow and do their thing, and I think it's just a great experience to have and a perk, I guess, of being in the classroom.
Yeah, and we don't always know like the thing that will make the difference. Like,
Right.
have you ever had that experience where a student comes and says like, I remember you said this thing and it just changed everything for me, and I'm like, I don't remember
Right, like
saying that. Like,
Right.
I'm glad I said something nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, like it's just you never know what it is that's going to be memorable for somebody.
What is the best teaching advice that you received?
Gosh, there's been a lot of good advice over the years. I think there's been a lot of bad advice over the years too.
Yeah.
I would say being told, I'm going to say two things, and it's interesting because I think they're almost opposites of each other, and I think the dichotomy it makes them interesting. The sense of like always be changing and always be reinventing yourself, like don't stay stagnant, which is like, one of the reasons like I'm like switching things up this semester and doing the Undesign the Redline, just because if I do the same thing every semester, I'm gonna get bored, right? Like I need to be growing and improving, and I feel like I am not satisfied unless I'm kind of feel that forward momentum. But then also the sense of like be true to who you are, which is cliche, I know, but like I need that freedom to be very much myself, because I am like I'm an introvert. I'm not super like loud. I don't like to be the like in the spotlight. And I know some professors really do like that or have a very, very different style from what I do. And I think being able to recognize like you don't need to be like everybody else. Like you have to have your own twist.
Sure.
Yeah. And I get that a lot. Alan Girding, right, is the other psychology faculty member here that does a lot of face-to-face classes, and we end up with students that do both of our face-to-face classes, and they'll say, the two of you are so different from each other, we have very different styles, and I think like that's the good thing, but we like both of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, like you can tell if somebody's not being authentic, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that I was talking to a couple students in the hall recently,
Yeah.
and they just sang your praises.
Oh, good.
They said you're just a wonderful teacher
Okay.
and human being, so
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
share that with you.
God, they don't tell you all the bad things they do in the classroom.
They don't. They don't. We're gonna move to the next segment. So this is more of a quick response,
Okay.
but you can expand on it if you want. So there's 4 questions. The first one is fact or fib. Give us something interesting about you. It could be true or not. After we go through all of the questions, Kara and I will come back to this, and we'll make a determination if you're a liar or not. So,
If you're being authentic.
if you're being authentic.
Okay.
So, fact or fib, give us something interesting about you.
I'm gonna go fact or fib.
Tell us if it's fact or fib.
I know, I can't tell you. I will say that I'm a vegetarian because of a TV show.
I have to write this down because I won't remember when we come back. All right. Next, favorite teacher and why? And it could be at any point in your
Any point.
any point.
I've got a tie. So I've got Mr. Beal from choir in high school was like my saving grace all through all 4 years of high school. And because he was just so passionate. I think it was the first teacher I really ran to that you just knew he just lived and breathed what he did. Like he was so passionate about music and choir and everything, and very caring. And then Professor Sinnott from college, she taught social psychology and personality psych, and she also was like that first experience of like someone being very authentically them that I really noticed. Like she was very different from my other professors, very quiet. She had her own like quirky personality, and I was like, oh, like that's like you can just be you. And she was amazing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Most embarrassing moment in the classroom, either as a student or teacher.
Or as a student. Okay, this isn't even that funny. It's mostly just traumatizing. I'm gonna say the first day I ever taught. So, and this isn't short. I guess I'm gonna get
It's
into a
fine.
story. In grad school, we were all required to teach for my clinical psychology program, and I didn't want to because I have social anxiety, and I didn't want to be in front of a bunch of students. And I had like a fellowship that prevented me from teaching as soon as everyone else did, so I didn't get to go through the same training. So when it finally came my turn to teach, I was just thrown up on stage. You're teaching abnormal psychology in front of 100 students. It was literally a stage. I was down at the bottom. It was like the
Like the classic university.
lecture hall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
like that. I was terrified. I was so scared. My face was bright red. My voice was shaking. It was into a microphone. So you could hear it shaking. And I like my hands were shaking, and I was just a total mess. I sometimes think about those poor students that had me back then, and I'm like, oh gosh, like what they must have been thinking.
But if they could see you now.
If they could see me now, they'd be
Yeah.
like, really, that person? Teacher of the year, not that person.
You might have touched on this a little bit earlier, but did you find teaching or did teaching find you? Basically, was it always your goal to teach, or you discovered by another route?
It found me. I thoroughly hated teaching when I started because that was my experience,
Yeah.
right? And it was so the opposite of personal. Like I didn't know students' names. I think it was 100 of them, and that's how it was. Even when I did get to TA for somebody, it was like 400 students, and so the teacher doesn't know who any of them are. And the only reason I circled back to teaching is because I needed to make money on the side while I was doing my dissertation. So I did adjunct teaching at a community college, and it was 100% different from what I had done before. And I was like, wait a minute, like I can actually know my students, it can be personal, I can have a connection, and I just totally fell in love. It was, yeah, and Dad, you were right, because he told me back in grad school, he was like, Jessie, you should do teaching. He calls me Jessie. You can do teaching. You should do teaching. I think you'd really like it. And I was like, Dad, no, like I don't like teaching.
No, Dad.
He was right.
So your first day as an adjunct was not nearly as traumatizing as your first day as
No, well, 20 students
Right.
and so kind, and got to know who people were, and I was still nervous, but it wasn't quite the same. Yeah.
So did psychology find you, or did you find psychology as your discipline?
Ooh,
Oh,
all these
that's a
curveballs
good
now. That is a
question.
great question.
I found psychology in 6th grade. Somebody told me you would make a good therapist. You should go into psychology. Such an offhand comment.
Right.
As a 6th grader.
I was a 6th grader, and that was me. I was like, that sounds good. And like from there on out, every time there was a chance to do, like there was psychology in high school, and I took that and loved it. And then from there on out, it would just every time I took a new psychology class, I fell more in love. Yeah, I'm a total nerd. My students know this too. Like they can get me sidetracked in the classroom so easy because I'm like, yeah, let's go down this rabbit hole. I'm so happy to to do that. If it's psychology related, I'm there.
They probably want to go down the rabbit hole right with
Yeah.
you. Once they decide it,
Okay. Vegetarian because of a TV show.
Yeah.
So a lot of folks have been doing like half and half, like they give us a little bit of a truth, and then the other part of it is not.
Okay.
So it'd be, for this instance, would be maybe it's a truth that
I
you're
think I blended
vegetarian.
fact and fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Against the
They
rules
tried to stop
completely.
us, yeah.
But
Which they did.
it's not very hard. I hate to say it. I don't think maybe we got it right once.
I think, yeah. maybe.
That's okay.
You go first.
Okay, so I am going to vote.
Wait. Can I do a follow-up question? Because this might work.
I don't think this
Okay.
was in the rules.
No.
No, go ahead.
I'm changing. What TV show?
What TV show?
Let's see this.
Yeah, this gave it away.
The Simpsons.
Oh,
Oh.
okay, it didn't give it away. Okay, I was gonna say that it was fact that you became a vegetarian, but that maybe it was, maybe not a TV show, it was, I can't think of the movie, regardless, I think that part was the false part, was
That's
the
the
TV
false part.
show. Yeah,
So it's a movie instead of a TV show.
that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
I
Well, you
didn't
said
even,
Simpsons, and I'm like, oh, Lisa.
was she vegetarian?
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't know. It's been so long since it's still on, but I haven't watched The Simpsons. I am going to say. I'm just going to say fact. The whole thing is true.
You're correct. The whole thing is true.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Brian Hall.
Finally.
Won.
Thank you.
Got one.
And this is the last episode of Creating a Disruption. Because I finally got one right.
Got
Brian's going out on a win.
Yeah.
Totally true. Yeah.
So, was it early on that you?
Yeah.
And was it Lisa Simpson?
It was Lisa. My family growing up, we would watch The Simpsons, right? Like in the evenings, like so many families. And I think I was 12 years old, and it was the episode where she becomes a vegetarian, and it sparked a conversation with my family. And we're like, yeah, let's give it a try. And I stuck with it. I from then on out, I've never.
So since 12 years old, you've been a vegetarian?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. My parents did not stick with it,
Okay.
but I did. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a good story.
So The Simpsons, yeah,
Okay.
positive influence.
you go.
At least in one way.
They've always been a positive influence. Well, thank you so much for spending some of your day with us.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the conversation. Thank you for everything you do with the students and for the students, and congratulations once again on the OATYC Teacher of the Year. Well deserved.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.